this past weekend, or I should say earlier in the week, maybe it was last week, I don't know. During the Over the Top podcast, which there is a link in the description of this as well, so you can go listen to it. The Over the Top podcast is a new podcast with Justin Rabikoff and Nick Laval from Edmonton Impact. The main topic of that podcast was kind of just like what they can do to try to make tournament paintball better. Because it's not watchable and it's not really that entertaining. I think that one of the main problems they have is how the game is filmed. One of the things I've talked about a lot is wanting to do a top-down view like this, like you're seeing. This is the layout, and I would like to know where all the players are, just so that during coaching situations, we could go back and like watch the film and do coaching. Justin, though, presented an idea that Go Sports or whoever, right, could implement two ways, I think. He said they could do it live, or you could also do it during breaks. So after 1 point's over, if we got rid of split deck, we'd have 2 minutes roughly, and then another point. So you'd have that 2-minute time either for commercials, for interviews, or to discuss this stuff, like to discuss plays, do replays, recaps, I don't know, things like that. Yeah, okay. So, one of their Justin Rabikoff's idea, was that we would have the layout, right? So say we're at the tournament. So this layout right here was the Dallas layout. So this last NXL tournament. Have the layout, and then we would take cameras. So right there, those two black things that appeared could be cameras, right? You could extend these over the field with wire, whatever. You can pull that cable really tight. So you would take the two cameras like this, and then you could film down all the time, right? So that you would know where players were. So that during a timeout, or at some point during the match even, you could cut to a view that looked like this. So the idea of this is that you can indicate where the players are at, and you can indicate where they're shooting. You could do this with telestration, so you could do this with like a touchscreen monitor and draw on the monitor. You could just do it like I did with just draw a line on the screen really fast. Both of those things are easy. So what I did is you can see there's circles. So this purple team, there's 4 players alive. There's one in snake 2, one in the back left, or I should say in the snake corner. That's probably easier. A guy on the Dorito side, and there's a guy in the center. And then the other team, there's 2 players left. There's one in the snake corner, and then there's one guy in the center. Those lines indicate where they're shooting at and if they're shooting, right? So if they have a line, they're shooting. Or actively engaging or something like that. And then that line, says which way they're shooting, and those arrows say which way they're shooting. If there is no arrow, that means they're kind of just standing there or just sitting, right? So like the guy on the Dorito side in the green team, there's 2 guys shooting at him, right? So he's just kind of sitting there trying to live, right? So I think that Justin's idea was to have this top-down view to, just, kind of show where people are at. They could do it like this, kind of ghetto and cheap. I don't think that looks good. It would be so much cooler if it was live video and you were drawing on the screen talking about where people were shooting. That would be cool. You could do that, but then what they also talked about was that you could focus in on a player. So with that boom camera in the back, so the boom camera is on like a big thing. So you can like move the camera, like you can pan it way out over the field or like move it all over the place, right? So we have the boom and we can focus, say, so that's what it looks like with all the people going. So we're gonna focus on that player, right? So we're gonna try to pull over and above that purple or that pink person to see what they're doing. And then we pull to this guy. And then you could explain what he's doing because you kind of have a little bit more of his view, right? So you're kind of behind him, looked down, looking out over the field. And then you could explain what they're doing. Like, oh, they're trying to shoot this guy to do whatever. I don't know, whatever's happening. That was their idea to try to, just improve that experience with trying to communicate to people what is happening. If you take like random person, right, and sit them down from a paintball game, they know what's happening, right? In generally they know what's happening, right? You can be like, everyone's trying to shoot the guys. You got to shoot everyone, and then you go over there and hit the buzzer and you win. It's pretty easy. All right, it's pretty simple. But the hard part is that during that match, you're like, okay, people are shooting at people, but I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, what is actually happening, right? I don't know. I think like other sports, and it's like basketball or baseball or football or hockey, they're also simple, right? It's also like, say, I don't know, basketball, right? The objective is to just put the ball in the hoop, right? Simple. Just like paintball, really, it's simple. Just shoot everyone and hit the buzzer. It's pretty simple. There's two big things you got to do. But in basketball, you can always see what's happening, right? You always know that, like, there's guys jumping and, oh, that guy's guarding that person. It's all super obvious kind of what's happening. It's not extremely subtle like paintball. Paintball's so subtle in what's happening, it's really hard to convey that. So possibly switching camera angles like this and showing a top-down view and trying to better talk about what is actually happening, not like, oh, this guy's shooting this, but why? Trying to better explain that stuff, I think could be good. And that's Justin's biggest thing, is there's no, or not there's no, but it's hard to see what people are actually doing. And I think that also comes with not knowing what to look at, right? So when you're watching paintball, you don't really know what to look at. I mean, you can assume, most people are gonna watch the front guys because you assume something's gonna happen. But what if it doesn't, I don't know. Then something happened over there and you missed it. Where it's like basketball, right? You're always gonna look at the ball because the ball always goes in the net. That's the thing that always scores, so that's gonna be where you're gonna get the most action. And in paintball, we do not have that. It's just non-existent. So another thing that Justin had an idea of is a way to maybe try to create some sort of different scoring system to create areas where we can focus on so that we know where there's going to be action. This isn't like the first time this has been thought of. There's other leagues that do stuff kind of similar and whatever. There's the National Speedball League, the NSL, which does some weird stuff with like offense and defense things. And then there's also Red Zone with the AFPL. AFPL is going to be the most similar to this. So what we could do, and Justin and Nick in that podcast, we're both going back and forth with suggesting areas we could have. So like, say the objective is, let's pull up, whatever, this works. So say the objective is now not like hit the buzzer, get to the other end's team, but possibly have areas on the field where you can like control, right? So kind of like a base, right? So say on this example, if you get to the 50 Doritos, if you get to your 50 Dorito or whatever, or the other team's 50 Dorito, if you're in that box, you could accumulate points. So say for every second you're there, you get 1 point. 2 seconds and 2 points, 3, 4, and forever really. So the objective of the other team is to get you out of there, is to shoot you out, right? They want to kill you and eliminate you so your team is no longer accumulating points. Or it could be the opposite thing, right? So say you're in the Doritos and the other team is in the snake. So you both have like control points and then it zeroes itself out and nobody's getting points. So you want to still get that guy out of there. Or you can get 2 points or whatever. So you can control positions. Or we could make it the whole entire 50 so you can control it. Something similar, so there's a couple things that are sort of similar. So the AFPL, like I said, does have that red zone. I don't know. So you hit the buzzer, and then when you hit the buzzer, you start getting points, and all your teammates get regenerated. So you get points and you get the buzzer, or you get points and you're getting like respawns. And the objective is the other team has to come hit the buzzer. But I like the idea of having people stay on the field so they can like defend their position or something like that. There's also the UWO, the Ultimate Woodsball League, did something similar to this, but they had a thing where you actually had to like raise a flag, I think. That's kind of cool though. But you'd raise the flag and you could capture that point. And the other team captures it by just raising their flag. That's a common like scenario style of play thing anyway. So yeah. I actually am a big fan of this. I think that it's important with paintball or with anything in life to at some point assess what you're doing, right? Like why are we doing this? Like why is any of this stuff happening? Why are we doing I don't know, why is it 5-on-5? You know, why not 6-on-6 or 4-on-4 or 3-on-3? You know, why 5? Why do we have all the same rate of fire? Why don't we have a guy with like uncapped full auto and then someone with like 2 balls a second? Why don't we do that? You know, why don't we mix it up and get kind of crazy in that podcast? But Justin also said in there, think that we need to heavily look at like esports and try to see what things we can take away from esports and implement them into paintball, and not just broadcast stuff, like how we can actually implement actual video game things into paintball. Yeah. I think we look at this and we think that it's got to be this way forever and this is what it is. But why? I mean, I feel like maybe 10 years ago, but it's not a bad thing to change and it's not a bad thing for this to evolve. So, I don't know.